Today we've got a great revenge story that ends up costing somebody a $20,000 commission. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, if I don't get to sleep, so won't you. A hotel saga. That was in the late 90s. We were 4 18-year-olds and we bought the cheapest travel possible, going from Brazil, where we live, to Buenos Aires, Argentina. We did that through a tour guide from Uruguay, and back then, there was no way to check the hotel beforehand, etc. And an aside, before Brazilians started to pour huge amounts of money into Argentina's decaying economy, prejudice against Brazilian skin color was no secret. It was loud, in fact, we just didn't know the extent of it. Anyway, we bought the trip all through him. Some other 15 people were in the same tour. The hotel was, let's say, better than camping. We visited the city during the day, and at night, we were going to a nightclub. In Buenos Aires, nothing starts before midnight, so we took a nap beforehand, met with the group at the hotel store, and left to the nightclub. But we had to split in taxis, which in Buenos Aires is ridiculously cheap. Only our driver decided to cross the Nile, pass by New Zealand, and do the Trans-Siberian before leaving us in a nightclub in front of the river Mar del Plata. Nice place. Distant from civilization as well. And we didn't have our tickets, the guide did, and he didn't wait for our taxi. So we stayed outside begging the guards to find the man and bring him to the door. No one would. We even asked for people on the line. No one gave us a second look. That's when it dawned on me that we were being barred because one of our friends was mixed race. She didn't notice, she believed the guide couldn't be found in the crowded place, but I paid attention to the dirty looks in our direction, and I said, "Let's go back to town and have fun somewhere else." And so we did. But I was furious, went back to the hotel and couldn't sleep. So what did I do? I called the guide at 3:30 a.m. He answered. I hang up. Again, I call and hang up. I did that many times before he took the phone off the hook, and that left me with no option. In pajamas, I rang his doorbell and ran to hide in the stairs. He got up and said, "Who's there?" I gave it some time, just enough for him to get comfy in bed, and rang the doorbell again. Look, I was 18 years old and he was nearly 50. Who would win the whole "didn't sleep at all" fight? So at 9 a.m., we were supposed to meet at the lobby, and he looked 10 years older. And I was still furious because I asked him what happened, and he tried to play me for a fool. He was tall, I'm tiny, so in the middle of the lobby, I climbed a chair and argued with him with a finger to his face. The hotel crew was horrified, my friends just looked wide-eyed, and then I asked, "Also, did you sleep well tonight?" with a smirk. He came to push me off the chair, a cleaning lady grabbed his torso, I ran, more people came to hold him and I kept dialing the phone and hanging up, and also ring the doorbell with my most cynical smile, and now there were like 5 people holding him. And he was expelled from the hotel, as I later learned. Other people from our group took our plane ticket with him, and I never saw him again. How does it feel to be outsmarted by an 18-year-old? As somebody that's always super nostalgic and always looking back, there's definitely some experiences like this story and OP's experience of booking a vacation with that traveling agent. You know what? I am kind of glad of the accessibility of everything in this day and age. That makes me go, you know what? I really am kind of glad that everything is just so much more accessible. You don't really have to do anything blind these days. You can do a little bit of research. Filmyak left a comment saying, "Sounds legit to me. My grandmother's from Buenos Aires, and she used to tell us stories of having to deal with literal Nazis who fled there after World War II. I'm not remotely surprised. There was plenty of racism down there." Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy crazy revenge stories, it would be amazing if you left a like or left a review if you're listening to my podcast. Our next story is called in a warrant on my ex's baby daddy. I apologize if this story isn't very cohesive. I'm still processing and only enacted my revenge an hour ago. I'm coming down from enough adrenaline to survive a car crash. I, 32-year-old male, met J, 34-year-old female, in June. By July, we were in a relationship and saying I love yous. I'm aware it was unhealthily fast. Neither of us claimed to be healthy. She was a recovering alcoholic, mental health issues all her life, BPD, 3 kids, 3 baby daddies, living in a sober living house, no job, no car, no license. I sure know how to pick them. August comes and something happens. She goes to court, sees her baby daddy there, poof, she's gone. I have nothing to give, I'm not healthy enough for this, I can't be in a relationship, blah blah blah. Very sudden, very hurtful, because I genuinely do love her as an anxious loves an avoidant. I worked extremely hard to pull myself out of my anxiety and soothe myself during this relationship, so she's gone. A month later, Jay is back together with baby daddy number 3. We'll call him R, male 45. That crap hurt to see because there is not enough space here to list this man's shortcomings. Rap sheet a mile long, including domestic violence and child neglect. He beat, abused her, ended her cat, and, this bit is important, stole her car to abandon her and their son to flee to another state. That was back in April. She reported the car stolen and a warrant was placed for his arrest in the state where Jay and I live. So June to August is all the time I had with her. Met her family, her kids, went to her son's 2nd birthday party and bought him a gift, while this freak butt father couldn't even bother with a phone call. Got attached to her son, she brought him out to see me every time I came to visit. So after our breakup, her mom and I talked. I was hurt, I reached out to her mom. Her mom loves me because I'm not a deadbeat. I have a house and a career and a car and no kids. Jay's mom gave me updates on Jay's downward spiral. September goes by, October goes by. I get less updates from her mom. I'm thinking about her less. I'm finally starting to feel a little bit better every day. Guess who texts in the middle of November? It's Jay. Texting with some BS half-hearted apology about hurting me, against mine and literally everyone's better judgment, I engaged with her. She took just enough accountability to rope me into sweet-talking me. Within 2 days, it's back to I love you and I miss you and I want to try again. And like a dummy, I said, I'm open to that. Slight problem, she's still with R. I say, you need to break up with him if we move forward at all. She says she can't. It becomes a thing. Now I'm leaning into my anxiety, pressing for a conversation, terrified of abandonment and abandoning myself for someone who clearly does not actually want to be with me. She informs me that R is coming back to our state and she has to stay with him for their son. Bull crap. Tells me that I have no regard for her kids and that we never would have worked out anyway. Ow. That reconnection lasted from November 14th to the 24th. Now, I've been stewing on this since the 24th. It's currently December 12th. I've been angry because I'm hurt, and it's a hurt that's very old that she's contributed to. I should have let it go. I should have put her out of my mind and moved on with my life. Unfortunately, my therapist and I haven't gotten there yet, so I'm stewing at home in my hurt. I've been debating what to do. Do I screenshot the texts and send them to her baby daddy? Let him know that she's been cheating? Because the conversations we had 100% were cheating. Do I call in his warrant? What happens to his other son if I do that? So tonight, I called Jay and I asked her, what happens to R's older son, not her son, if he gets arrested? She asks, why would he get arrested? Because he has an active warrant. Now she lies. Says he doesn't have a warrant, starts attacking me, starts pulling blatantly false allegations out of her butt, threatening me, says there will be legal repercussions if I contact her again. Mind you, I haven't contacted her since the 24th. She hangs up. So I call the state troopers, confirm R's warrant is still active, call the sober living house where he's staying, confirm he lives there, tell them that he has an active warrant, call the local PD, and tell them where to get him. 10 minutes after I got off the phone with local PD, Jay calls back. Naturally, she's livid, spitting every ounce of venom she could at me. Me stooping to her level and trying to give it back. Shouldn't have done that, oh well. Then again pulling allegations out of her butt. Threatening me, saying that she'll call my therapist and put me on an involuntary psych hold, all kinds of crap. The conversation was a blur. Should I have made most of the decisions I made? No, I should have been better. Do I look weak and a little bit crazy? Absolutely I do. Do I have some satisfaction from this? I don't know yet. Did I perform my civic duty by informing the police about a violent fugitive? Yes, I absolutely did. Oh, and nothing will happen to the older son. His bio mom has him. Sorry for the long, crazy story. I don't know if it goes here or today I messed up. Hopefully y'all can get a laugh about this crap show. If there's questions, I'll answer as many as I can. Anybody else think, considering what OP said about how he laid his hands on Jay, that what OP did ultimately was a good thing for Jay, even if they're staunchly opposed to it? I just hope that if they do come and collect that guy and Jay no longer is with them, that OP doesn't cave and get back with Jay. If Jay does show some sign of okay, well, I'm free and I'm a single Pringle again. I'm ready to be scooped up by your love again, OP. Now UC left a comment saying, the real freak up here, other than seeing the 1,000 red flags waving in the wind and thinking you could dye them green with enough love, is that you told Jay it was you who's responsible for him getting arrested. Why the freak would you do that? You've put yourself in a very dangerous situation with a dangerous man. All Jay needs to do, assuming that's the only warrant, is drop the charges and he's out on the street and out for revenge. I assume Jay knows where you live and what car you drive? Please chuck up a camera or two, just in case. Forgetting your safety and the sanity and going back to that nut job. I love the revenge. It's a perfect mix of cool-blooded revenge and couldn't have happened to a nicer guy karma. Our next story is payback for impounding my truck. Many years ago, I worked the 3 to 11 shift at my hospital. On this night, we were getting a bad snow and ice storm. Just before the end of my shift, I was in the ER and asked some LEOs if the roads were getting bad. They said yes, take the highway, it's the only road being plowed or treated. So 30 minutes later, I gingerly head up the ramp to the highway, go about 50 feet, hit ice, and slam into the guardrail. Now I'm sitting here facing north in the southbound emergency lane against the rail. My truck won't start. So I think an officer will come along and help me. After 2 pass by, I get out of my truck and hoof it down a 3-story embankment to the city street below. As I was walking back to my hospital, one of our security guards saw me and picked me up. I get back inside and they call the non-emergency number, this was before cell phones, and report my wreck. They tell me that I should stay in my vehicle. I tell them it's 20 friggin' degrees, it won't start, and I'll freeze. She said, okay, we'll call you when we dispatch an officer. I got a friend to take me home and waited, but no call came. I asked my friend with the wrecker service to go get it, but when he got there, it was gone. I called the non-emergency number and they told me a trooper had it towed as a hit and run and there was a warrant for leaving the scene of an accident. I asked her if she could see my call reporting it and she said they had 220 accidents and it was lost in the shuffle. I asked her how to get my truck released. She said I had to contact the trooper and complete an accident report. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. She gives me his name and contact info. I hang up with her and call his number. It's his precinct. They say he's off duty, but they'll leave a message. Great. Now, I'm a single mom who works an evening shift with only 1 vehicle. Thankfully, I'm off for a couple of days. I keep calling because I need to get my truck to the shop, and I know I'll have to pay for impound. By the 3rd day, I call and ask for his supervisor. He tells me my trooper is on vacation and he has to be the one to take the report. Not even the supervisor can do it. I think that's BS, but I'm at their mercy. Fortunately for me, my uncle has several cars and loans me one until I can get this mess fixed. The next week, I finally get a call from Master Trooper Jerk. He says he can come to my house to do the report. I'm like, great, let's get this done. He gets to my house about 20 minutes later. Now, it's my day off before 4 in a row, so I've been cleaning all morning and my house is very neat and tidy. Not the usual kids live here, toys everywhere, lived in look. He comes in and is obviously surprised by how nice it is. I suggest that we can sit at the kitchen table so he can write out this report. I didn't notice at the time, but he put his hat on the seat next to him. We get through the report and he asks why I didn't stay with the truck. I told him I would have frozen. I wrecked it at about 11:45 p.m. He had it towed at 6:45 a.m. Then he says he now sees my call reporting it. Says he's sorry, his supervisor could have done this, but it's all done now. Grr, I knew it. So he leaves, and then I saw it. His hat on my chair. What to do? Since I'm still irritated by all of this, I want a little revenge. So, I call the non-emergency number and in my most attractive Marilyn Monroe whispery voice say, "Master Trooper Jerk was here at my house and he was taking a report and, well, he left part of his uniform here when he left." Oh, the revenge was so sweet. When he came back, his face was 10 shades of red. I only wish I could have heard that call go out over the radio. You know, I just imagine OP dialing it up even further, saying something like, "Oh, I'm just twirling my hair. I'm so impressed with the officers you have on staff there. I sure hope I don't get into any more trouble, but I know I'll certainly be covered if I do." "What you talking about?" Willis commented. "You should have went on vacation and made him wait to get it back." Misa replied, "Yep, without his hat, he is considered out of uniform and can't do their job while out of uniform. Meaning if they aren't wearing one and give you a ticket, you can fight it. Not sure if it's real or just a rumor, but they can't do their job if not in full uniform, including hat. If you ever get stopped or see them stopping someone, you'll notice they're always either wearing their uniform hat or a police-issued ball cap, but they are wearing one." Our next story is, I paid an Etsy witch to put a revenge spell on my toxic former manager, and I think it worked. Context: my previous workplace was downright abusive. Our managers would berate us, single us out, humiliate us, and throw us under the bus for anything and everything. Everyone was miserable, no one felt safe, and working late into the night or over the weekend was the rule, not the exception. Our department head was the worst of them all, a classic narcissist who loved threatening people, putting people down, and pitting people against one another. The fish was rotting from the head, so to speak. It all trickled down from her. She was a real piece of work, to say the very least. Anyways, I worked there for a while, and at the beginning, I was a star employee. I was promoted, I was selected for important projects, I had a good reputation in the organization and so on, but I could only cope with the madness for so long. Eventually, I became completely burnt out, broken down, and demotivated. I just couldn't do it anymore. It got so bad that I had to go on SSRIs and return to consistent therapy, suffered significant weight gain, withdrew socially, etc. I know, poor me, but you guys get it, it sucks and it's inescapable. Naturally, my performance suffered, and my evil department head used my rapid and noticeable decline as an excuse to round up a posse and push me out, firing me unexpectedly a little while back. In retrospect, she did me a huge favor. That place was poison, and I found a way better job after a few months of unemployment, rediscovering my will to live in the process. Hooray! But at the time, I was super bitter and angry, and who could blame me? I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but I know I'm a good colleague, a solid contributor, and an empathetic human being. Why am I being the one punished? And also crap-canned? So yes, I did it. I paid an Etsy witch $25 to cast a revenge spell to my toxic former department head. I did it, it made me feel better, and I didn't expect it to actually work or do anything. I just wanted to do something to bend the arc of the universe back towards justice. I want to make it very clear that this spell was not meant to physically harm her or damage her personal life in any way. It was specifically tailored to her career, the idea being that it would reveal her true nature and return the negative toxic energy she put out into the world back to sender, essentially giving her a taste of her own medicine. That was a few months ago. I'd almost completely forgotten about it until a former colleague, now friend, messaged me about a major shakeup happening on the team. There was a major reckoning. HR got involved, people spoke candidly, the truth came out, and the extent of her nastiness came to light. I couldn't believe it. They actually removed her from her position and stripped her of her title and her people managing responsibilities. Not fired, but definitely transferred and demoted. I guess what I'm saying is, Etsy magic isn't something to take lightly. It might end up working, so cast internet spells at your own risk. And for those who don't believe in e-commerce-based witchcraft, at least this shows that narc managers do face consequences for their actions, and they're not completely invincible. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of hope. I'm gonna be honest, even reading this story still, I'm still gonna be a bit of a skeptic on how effective an Etsy witchcraft curse is going to be. You know, I'm not the most fiscally responsible person myself, but I feel like there might be better ways to spend $25. Name South left a comment saying, "What was the name of the Etsy shop?" Asking for a friend, of course. Our next story is, I'm a mailman and I did something disgusting with a customer's mail. I'm a mail carrier. One day back in July, I was working my day off and was on someone else's route that I wasn't familiar with. Upscale neighborhood, big older houses, a lot of which had their mailboxes in the back of the house in what used to be a milk chute where milkmen would deliver their goods. One house, I walked into the backyard because the previous 4 or 5 all had their mailboxes in the back in the old milk chute. Couldn't find the mailbox, put the mail back in my bag, and finished the street. Got back to my truck, and a woman comes running up to me yelling and demanding my name. She says she saw me in her backyard and thinks it's suspicious. She demands to know why. I tell her I was looking for her mailbox. She says there's a slot in her front door, and she knows I was looking in her windows. The mail slot was painted the same color as the door, so I didn't see it. Basically accuses me of casing her house in order to come back and rob her. I literally start laughing in her face. She demands my name again, and I tell her I was told in kindergarten not to give strangers my name. This really pisses her off, and she storms off screaming at me that she's calling the police. Whatever. Finish the route and go back to the post office. Supervisor and manager are there laughing their butts off because this crazy jerk and husband called demanding I be fired for attempting to rob their house. Manager tells me the husband kept him on the phone for nearly 15 minutes. Husband says I look like a criminal lowlife, and his wife says she thinks I was on drugs. He also wanted my name, so when the house got robbed, they could give it to the police. Manager refused, and he said the guy was yelling at him, and he could hear the wife yelling in the background. Well, I talked to my coworker, who's the regular on that route, and she says those people are the biggest jerks on her route. So, I've avoided delivering this particular street since this summer, until today. So when I go to that street and was getting the mail ready, I closed the door between the front of my truck and the cargo area. I drive a Dodge ProMaster. I unzipped and I rubbed my junk all over their freaking mail. Every freaking piece of their mail. Call me a lowlife. Freak you. My only regret is it wasn't hot outside and my junk wasn't sweaty. You know, I was going to make the same comparison to like chefs or waiters or whatnot, but I kind of doubt that they're going to break out that exact method of revenge. I definitely understand being like protective about your place. And there are even people out there who will like dress up and pretend to be post people or police officers or whatnot to case a house like that, sure. But if they made one call and they verified, yes, that was our employee, they were just looking for a mailbox, there's no need to be so worked up. Cranberry Mission left a comment saying, if you're thinking of being a jerk to your mailman, think about it. Tain't worth it. Dami-chan replied, it is a ballsy move. Our next story is, lie to me, bye-bye $20,000+ commission. A while back, my wife and I decided to downsize, and so we were out there dealing with those bastions of honesty, real estate agents, on a weekly basis. We attended an open home for an apartment that we fell in love with, and after another arranged viewing, we made an offer with the agent Paul. Now, Paul was your stereotypical agent, sharply dressed, talkative, and smarmy with an attractive assistant to hand out the brochures. But he had the listing for what we wanted, so there was no avoiding him. Our initial under-listing price offer was refused with a counteroffer, which we thought was over the odds, but we wanted it badly, and as we were downsizing, the extra $20,000 or so was not a strain. We agreed to the price on the strict proviso that the impending open house for the weekends did not proceed, as we didn't want to run the risk of someone throwing in a higher offer. Contracts were to be exchanged on the Monday. This was agreed to by Paul. I drove past at the time of the open house just to check out the neighborhood again and saw signs out. The lying idiot. So being petty, we went up to the apartment, said hello to Paul and Jackie, who were a little surprised to see us, and then proceeded to follow around any visitors and point out the deficiencies as we saw them. We also monopolized Paul and Jackie anytime people were angling to chat to them. They couldn't fob us off. We were buyers. We were the first in and the last out. 10 groups left, knowing every fault in the apartment, the area, and with the complex. I was ticked, but kept it amicable because this is exactly what we wanted, and I didn't want to jeopardize the purchase. Through gritted teeth, we liaised with Paul and exchanged contracts on the Monday, as planned. But the best part was to come. As downsizers, we had a house to sell, almost double in price to the unit we just purchased. The property we bought was tenanted, so we had 6 months until we could get vacant possession, which suited us as we could get our old home ready for sale. Of course, Paul was keen to get our listing and was on to it straight away. I didn't discourage him and actually got him around to look at our old home to recommend improvements we should do before listing the property for sale. He was only too happy and came up with a detailed plan for us and came and presented to us in a professionally done package. He followed up every month asking for updates. It took us 5 months of work to get it ready to list. We phoned Paul to come out and have a look at the property ready for sale. He turned up and was blown away by the improvements, and you could almost see him salivating to have this listing. He arrived with comparable sales and a price in mind, and did pressure me to sign listing documents then and there, but I made the excuse that my wife was away for the next couple of days. She wasn't, and there was no way I could agree to a listing price and sign documents without her. We made an appointment for later in the week. That was the last we saw of Paul in person. Our listing with another agent went live on the property website 2 days later, and the first person I forwarded the advertisement to was Paul. I simply said this was a direct result of lying to us about canceling the open house, and that we couldn't reward someone who did that to us. We got an offer that we couldn't refuse on the very first open house. The new agent pocketed just over $20,000 in commission, probably loose change to agents, but it wasn't Paul's loose change, at least. In recent years, I never really thought about it or heard about it, but the wool has been pulled from my eyes about just how scummy real estate agents can be. There was a story the other week about a realtor who wanted to try to price gouge some prospective buyers who already made an agreement with the owner and said, well, actually, we got another offer that was about $5,000 more. If you can price match that, then we can sell the house to you. That realtor got the revenge that was coming to them, too. Kenny Rogers' love child left a comment saying, people who will accept an offer to sell something and then still go around trying to sell that thing for a higher price are freaking scum. Paul is with his people. OP should not have to even ask for that. Our next story is, I got a jerk customer arrested. About 15 years or so ago, I worked at a hydroponics store. We sold supplies for growing tomatoes. There was one guy who came in several times. He made some larger purchases, but he was a massive jerk. One day, he wanted an exchange or refund. At this point, I can't remember the exact detail, but it was against store policy and I declined the request. He contacts the owner, and rather than back me up, the owner capitulates and berated me for not making the transaction. The guy comes in, and now he's got an even bigger sense of entitlement. We had made some special orders for this guy, which were required to get information from the customer, including phone number and address. And given what he had purchased, he was growing a lot of tomatoes. I take his info and call the police tip line. A couple of months later, I find out he was busted with a bunch of plants. The best part was, since he was found guilty, I received $500. If you're doing something illegal, don't be a jerk to the people who have nothing to lose by turning you in. What OP did was probably not best for business, but with an owner like that, pretty easy to do it anyway. Far Complex 2327 commented, I worked at one of those stores, one of the worst jobs I've ever had, due to having a jerk manager, plus it was just kind of gross going from selling herb plants to nice suburban ladies, and then turning around and loading up thousands of dollars worth of equipment for someone growing tomatoes in their basement. They could be pretty unpleasant, and you had to worry that they were actually cops. They were the ones who tried to get you to chat about pot. If someone did actually mention pot, we had little cards we had to hand them to warn them that they were giving us reason to believe that they were growing an illegal crop and that we might make them leave. I want to add that plenty of customers were fine, no problems, but there were some sketchy people coming in. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy revenge story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.